Okay, Fiona, can you start off by telling me what job you have with Barnardos, and then tell me and our listeners about what is this new report yourselves released a couple of days ago?
Yep. So my job in Barnardos is a project leader. So that means that I manage project workers who work directly with families. Sometimes that's with parents and sometimes that's with children. And sometimes that's with both to support them usually in relation to changes they've experienced as a family.
You actually you work in, I saw you on social media on in
Yeah,
Mullingar at Loan, do you?
that's right. Yeah, I manage the projects in Westmeath, in Mullingar and Athlone. But we have a variety of family support services all over the country that are listed on our website on barnardos.ie. Um, so in relation to the report that was delivered, it was in relation to interparental conflict. And that's because we have worked for a number of years now with a lot of families who have experienced separation and the conflict that comes with that. And we have noticed the impact on children. So we commissioned a study to be done in relation to that really highlighted how the impact that has on children, and I suppose really what the need for more services like ourselves and a greater impact of the services that we have to work with, or greater availability of those services to work with families in relation to how that impacts on their children and what they can do to make a more positive experience for their children when the family is going through separation.
Yeah, my parents have never split up, but I've been aware for a long time, ever since I was young, that parents splitting up is often extremely painful on the children. I remember even watching when I was young chat shows on television from America when they're talking about this and how like parents fighting in front of the children is extremely painful. To have services available, including maybe educational programs, is important in your
Mm.
view, Fiona, is it?
Absolutely, Darren. Yes, yeah. For families to be able to come somewhere where they can really, I suppose, have a space that's non-judgmental and open to them, that they can acknowledge what's going on in their family and get some support about how to make things a bit more positive for their family is really, really important, because the longer that situation goes on, the more difficult that it is for the children and the more long-lasting effects it can have past their childhood, and even in relation to how they would, I suppose, go into relationships themselves in the future. So it's really important for a family to get a service at the early stages of that change in their life so that they can make things more positive.
And Fiona, how widely available are the services now at the moment?
They are widely, I suppose we have services across the country, and there are other services or other programs that would be delivering, that would be helpful to families. But unfortunately, there's really long waiting lists because we wouldn't have enough funding to be able to provide a service to a family straight away. So very often they're on a waiting list for a while, and then things are continuing in their home the way they are. We try our best to maybe give them a group program and things like that, but unfortunately our services are woefully underfunded, I would say. So by the time they get to us, it's really, things can often be even worse than when they first would have made interest in our service, if that makes sense.
And Fiona, your report, like, what does it call for exactly? More funding so you can supply the services faster, is it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it would be more funding, and I suppose a greater understanding of how we can meet children at an earlier stage of the change in their child's life, in a family's life, so that we can meet the child before things get worse for them.
And just one thing I saw on social media, I had a look at I downloaded your report, I only read a bit of it now, but you are calling, I believe, for some kind of educational awareness, eh?
Yes, so that would be for both parents and children, and maybe for parents so that they could be informed as to how to make this change easier for themselves and their children. So if that kind of education was widely available to all families to get at the early stage of that change, then they might be better equipped going into that as to how to keep the child at the centre and make things easier for them. So yeah, we're calling that would be more greatly available across the country for all children, and at I suppose a time when they need it the most.
Yeah, I think there probably, personally, think that there probably should be educational awareness done to parents. I don't know how big of an issue it is anymore. Maybe it's improved over the years. I don't know, but like from watching like debates about this on television, like a lot of parents apparently fight or argue, like seriously argue in front of their children, and it's really extremely, the word is, painful for the children. So, would you include that in an educational awareness program?
Absolutely, and that's the kind of programs that we would deliver, would be highlighting the level of conflict, the impact that would have on the child, and what that's like for a child to be living with, what it's like for them to hear every day. Because very often parents are going through a very, very stressful time themselves, and they don't realise how that's hurting their child so much in their little hearts and in their little minds. And sometimes it affects their bodies as well, because they might not be eating as well as they usually would, or they might not be going to school, and they might not be exercising the way that a child who's not dealing with those kind of stresses is. So it's really important for every aspect of a child's life that the parent is aware of what's going on for them. And even if the parent is aware that they have some maybe tricks and tips about how to support their child within that, about how to keep themselves calm so that they can then keep their child's little head and heart calm in the middle of all that, and keep their worries to as little as possible.
Okay, and Fiona, the budget is not going to be for another 6 months or so. Are you in any way confident in Barnardos that you will get extra funding for these services that you're calling for, and other services as well?
In terms of confidence, I suppose every year it's something that we strive to highlight the impact of things, of our services, and how important that they are. And I suppose what we're up against is all the other struggles that the government are coming up against. But I suppose I'm confident in our organisation in putting forward how much is needed. And I suppose what comes from the other side is really hard to gauge.